Welcome everyone to Rock Your Yoga Classes. My name is Cara Bradley and I'm excited to bring you this live webinar about how to say less, inspire more, and cue like a master yoga teacher. I'm excited to be with you today, so get pen and paper ready and let's get at it. So just to let you know a little bit about me, I'm going to be putting myself on the live screen here for a few minutes as I tell you about myself. My name is Cara Bradley, and there I am. I have been teaching movement for 35 years, and I've done a whole lot of inhales and exhales in my lifetime. I'm the founder of Verge Body Mind in Wayne, Pennsylvania. That's outside of Philly. We've been around for 14 years. We've had 13 yoga teacher training programs, and we've just created a really specific way of teaching yoga teachers how to cue bodies, how to move bodies, how to inspire, how to give people enough space and time to be able to settle into their own practice. And so I'm hoping to share some of this with you today. And this is session 1 of 4 sessions. I'll be telling you a little bit about the other sessions as we move into this program. And just so you know, this is for you and yoga teachers out there all over the world, I hope, that will be able to take a little bit with you and inspire more people as you hone your skill of becoming a master yoga teacher. A few months ago, I did a cueing webinar for Yoga Alliance, and it was met with really great response. I still get emails from people that are watching it on Yoga Alliance, so you can check that out if you want. This program, though, I wanted to take it a few steps further and a little bit deeper by offering you some videos and some new information, some new material to play with. So a little bit about me. Like I said, I am a founder of Verge Body Mind outside of Philly. I'm an author of the book On the Verge. I'll tell you about that later on as well. And let's just get going. So I'm going to take myself off this thing and put you back on the PowerPoint, and we can get playing right now. Verge Body Mind, once again, here's the website if you want to check us out, just if you're interested in the way that we teach and what we're doing, vergebodymind.com. And like I said, I am the author of a new book, On the Verge, Wake Up, Show Up, and Shine. And I have an app as well. I'll tell you about that later on, but let's get into cueing right now. So session 1, let me take you through the 4 sessions that I'm offering to you. Session 1 is about the traits of a master yoga teacher. So this session today is going to provide you with a whole bunch of information to chew on. There's a lot to this. As you know, being a yoga teacher isn't just about saying up dog and down dog. There is so much to it. In fact, it takes a whole 200 hours just to even get started. So kudos to you for even having the courage to step in front of a class. So today we're going to talk about some of the traits of a master yoga teacher. And then session 2, I'll introduce you to our cueing template. The cueing template is something we use at Verge Body Mind in our yoga teacher training programs to help new teachers understand how to move bodies. I find in talking to teachers all over the country that oftentimes we're not really taught how to actually move bodies. And so we've come up with this very simple, somewhat systematic way of learning to teach. And this is really going to be helpful, not only if you're a brand new teacher, but also if you've been teaching for 20 years. Every time I teach the cueing template, I make some distinctions. So session 2 and session 3 will both be on the cueing template because there's a lot to it. And then finally, the 4th session is about being a mental strength coach. So much about teaching yoga is about holding space for people and helping them to settle, steady, and stabilize their mind, their busy mind, I like to say. So we'll spend some time with that in session 4. So let's jump into today. Why does this matter? Why does cueing matter? Why isn't every yoga teacher alike? Why do some classes pack the house and other classes have just a few? A lot of times, in my experience, And I got to tell you, I mean, I've got 10,000 plus classes under my belt at this point. A lot of times it comes down to how clearly and directly you're cueing, how you're allowing people to move, how you're guiding people to move, I should say, and what kind of space you're giving them. So we're going to talk about why cueing matters, some of the common mistakes that many yoga teachers make, not just new yoga teachers, some effective cueing strategies that I have found to help me, the YTTs I work with, the teachers I work with at Verge Body Mind, and then so many other teachers that I've been working with since putting this stuff out there. And then how to identify your weak cues. We want to get really honest with ourselves because we want to improve, right? And we want to offer our students the best possible experience we can offer them, because that's going to keep them coming back to our class. And it's also going to help them experience yoga in a more powerful way. So that's where we're headed today. So why does all this cueing matter? Why am I so obsessed with words? And I have been since I started teaching, like I said, 35 years ago. I've been so curious about how words move bodies, how words affect the nervous system. But ultimately, why does it matter? Well, I've studied this, like I've said. And when we come back to the definition or purpose of yoga, if you could even say there is one definitive, and there isn't, but the one that I feel makes the most sense to talk about today is the 1.2 Yoga Sutra. And that Yoga Sutra says, yoga is the cessation of the modifications or fluctuations of the mind. I had to pause for a moment. I was choking. I'm going to say that again. Yoga is the cessation of the modifications or fluctuations of the mind. This was written in the Yoga Sutras or translated or orally transmitted so many years ago. What does that mean? The cessation of the modifications or fluctuations of the mind. It really simply means that yoga is about quieting the mind. Yoga, movement, breathing, turning inward, meditation, all the 8-limb path is really helping us to quiet our busy mind. And so when we can step into a yoga room with this understanding that the goal, what we really want to offer our students is the capacity to quiet their mind. Then all of a sudden we've got some ground to stand on. Then all of a sudden we've got that compass directing us to the North Star, that everything we do and say is ultimately going to help students quiet their mind. So how do we do this? To come back right down to the prime foundational level, and I'm keeping this super simple, folks. We want to help them settle their nervous system. We want to help our students to settle down, to stabilize, and to ultimately synchronize how they feel in this moment. And we do that with breathing, with rhythm, and by offering space. And so I plant this seed for you because as we move forward into the next 4 sessions, I'm going to continue to come back to this. Breathing, rhythm, space. Breathing, rhythm, space. What are you doing? How much are you offering it? Is there a focus on it at all? And to keep these little nuggets in your pocket as you teach. Alrighty. So with that, we move right into it. We step into phase 1 of this session, which is to know the common mistakes. It is so helpful to know what the common mistakes that most teachers, not only yoga teachers, but most teachers make out there. And to start to identify which ones you may be doing. The first one, so simple, so obvious, too many words. We've all done it. We all do it. I still do it. Too many words, just talking way too much. using complicated instruction. Convoluting, over-describing, we'll get into it. Using passive cues. Now, this is a distinction you might not have heard before. But when we speak passively, it doesn't directly speak to our bodies. When a teacher is speaking to us in a passive way, and like I said, we're going to dive into it more deeply, and also not giving any space to integrate, not giving students any silence or a pause to actually experience what it is they may be experiencing. So here are our common mistakes to unpack. What can you do to get to know your common mistakes? And I'm going to repeat this later on. I'm going to offer you something that may be helpful as well. The first thing you want to do is record your class. I can't tell you how many teachers that I've worked with, that I've recommended, and those at Verge, I've often said this is actually your homework. Record your class and then put your mat down and take it. Oh yes, take your own class. Turn off the judgment and light up your curiosity and your willingness to learn from yourself what you're doing. So recording your class, you can then feed back and listen to it and give yourself your own feedback. You can also ask teachers or friends for feedback after your class. And then finally, you can observe your students. This is a little more challenging, especially if you're newer, to actually observe your students as you're teaching to see if their bodies are understanding how you're cueing. Like I said, a little more challenging, but you could do it here and there. Record your class. Listen to it, ask someone else to listen to it. In fact, I'm going to offer you my services that if you send me a part of your class, we can have a phone call and we can pull it apart and I can help you understand where you may be getting stuck, where you can shift, how you can grow very easily by making a couple of quick fixes. So the common mistakes, we'll continue to go back to those. With those common mistakes in mind, let's talk about the effective strategies. I like to talk in the positive, more about how we can change and shift and improve. So phase 2, effective strategies. One of my most favorite strategies when I'm teaching new teachers is to continue to remind them to announce the pose. It is the simplest way of giving your students a visual picture of where they're headed. And what happens when you give them a visual picture, especially if they're a seasoned yogi, is that they don't need as much of your verbal cueing. And so what happens then is that you don't need to say as much. When you announce the pose, eagle pose, dancer's pose, warrior 2, bent knee triangle, all of a sudden the students know, okay, I know where I'm headed. And now the cueing can become much more mindful based, much more deliberate, less convoluted and complicated. So the first thing you want to do as you're sequencing, as you're moving a student in and out of poses, is to announce the pose. The second strategy is to use active verbs. And we do this, we work with this with our teachers a lot in our teacher training program. Starting your cueing with an active verb. And if you can see, I have this whole list of active verbs. This is just a little snapshot. Some of them are bend, contract, cup, descend, drop, engage. When you speak in these active verbs, you are actually talking directly to a student's nervous system. I'm going to say that again because it's really important. When you use active verbs to describe a movement, a transition, what you want the student to do, you're speaking directly to their nervous system. You're bypassing their thinking mind. It's so simple when you tell a student, lunge your right foot back. It's almost as if, and think about it, when you're practicing, you don't even need to comprehend what the teacher just said. Lunge your right foot back is so direct, as opposed to, excuse me again, lifting your right foot up, placing your right foot back, relaxing your back knee down. And that was even some active cues. But I'm not going to tell you what not to do, actually. I'm going to nix that. So delete what I just said. I'm going to just re-emphasize to use active verbs. And I'm going to show you an example in a moment using a video. Speak to body parts. So when we are cueing, I actually, when I'm teaching, I'm actually looking, usually from the neck down. I'm looking at body parts. And if I want them to go into cobra pose, I'm looking at the body parts that I want to move. Place your hands under your shoulders. Press your feet down. Press your hands and your feet down. Lift your chest up and hold. So when you're looking to the body parts, you get to speak exactly to my arm, exactly to my toes, exactly to my legs. And again, we bypass the thinking mind. So if we go back, all the way back a few moments ago, yoga is about helping quiet minds. As yoga teachers, we're helping to cultivate the space, the rhythm, and the breath so that our students can settle, stabilize, and relax in a more present place. So they shift past their busy mind into this presence where they're more powerful. They feel more alive. This is how your classes start getting infused with this essence of presence, which is very invigorating and very powerful. All right, let's pause here. We're going to watch a video. So this is me teaching a very, very simple sequence. And if you look here, once again, announcing the pose, using active verbs, speak to bodies. And as you watch the video, forget about how I'm teaching it. If you teach it differently, it doesn't matter. But just look at these 3 strategies and see if you can pick up on them. Here we go. It just takes a moment to load. And the video is about 4 minutes. So take a sip of water, as I need to do, and relax and allow yourself. You can even do it with me. That would be fun.
Okay, so the next 2 poses, I'm going to focus on announcing the pose, keeping it very simple, and speaking in active cues. So you could either do this with me, or you can just watch and absorb the cueing, which is something we don't often get to do when we're practicing or teaching. Eagle pose. Inhale, reach your arms overhead. Exhale, bend your knees and pause. Lock your core. Breathe in, reach through your fingers. As you exhale, wrap your right arm under your left and lift your right leg up and over. Set your gaze. Find your breath. Inhale. Exhale. Settle into your hips. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Take 2 more on your own. Final breath. Exhale, settle in fully and pause. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead, other side. Bend your knees, sweep your left arm under your right, lift your left leg up and over. Set your gaze. Find your breath. Squeeze your knees and elbows together to help you stabilize here. Final breath. Sink in a little further. Release. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, arms by your side. Dancer's pose. Take your left arm high. Reach your right palm open. And grab the inside of your right foot. Now stand tall. Inhale, reach your left arm up. Exhale, kick your right foot back. Pause and breathe. Steady your focus to help steady your body. Now step in for your final breath. Kick back, lift your toes up. Bring your knees together. Pause and release. Reverse your arms. Sweep your left arm back, reach your right arm high. Grab the inside of your left foot. Stand tall. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, kick your left foot back as you tip forward. Keep pressing your left foot back into your hands. Reach your right finger forward. Take one more breath, step in fully, and release. Knees together, reach up. Release your arms by your side and pause. So that was super simple cueing. Allow your students to get into the pose, pause. Cross your fingers, wait. Why am I talking? Give them a few moments to settle into the pose. And then you can fill in the belly of the pose with a mental cue, a physical cue. Finishing up with an exit cue, and you're on to the other side. Announce the pose first. Keep it simple. Speak in with active verbs. It's going to really help to clean up your dialogue.
All right. So I hope you enjoyed that. And let's get on with the show here. So there's a little bit questions. So once again, announce the pose, use active verbs, speak to bodies. So the next thing is to lead with the breath. I love this cue. I love to help students stay in a deep, coherent, I'll explain that in a moment, deep, coherent breathing pattern. When our inhales and our exhales are even and lengthened in a comfortable manner, it immediately settles our nervous system. We shift from being chronically in a stress state to being more balanced. Our autonomic nervous system balances with a long, deep, coherent breathing pattern. That's about 5-6 breaths per minute for most of us. So by leading with the breath, what that means is before you cue someone to move, give them a breath. And you don't need to do it every single pose, every single cue for the entire class. And we're going to skip this video. I'm going to have you watch it in a little bit. We'll talk about that more in a moment. First, I want to talk about weight because I mentioned it in the video. This is my absolutely favorite strategy. I'm not quite sure where I learned it. So whoever out there designed this mnemonic is so brilliant. Weight. What does weight mean? Weight means, why am I talking? So again, it comes back to one of those common mistakes that we just talk too much as yoga teachers. So when you cue somebody into a pose, a class into a pose, once you get them in the pose, and we call those super cues, you're going to learn that in session 2. But once you actually get the student in the pose, let's say we were doing dancer's pose there. Once I've cued them into dancer's pose and they're in, I'm going to remind myself to wait. And I remind myself to wait by crossing my fingers. So as soon as they get into dancer's pose, I'm going to cross my fingers, and that is just going to be the physical reminder to ask myself, why am I talking? And take 2 breaths right there. As a teacher, you're going to take 2 breaths, or at least a breath and a half before you open your mouth again. What happens when we do this is that it allows students to experience the pose you just guided them into. So think about it. You're taking full locus. Your arms are out, your legs are together. Teacher gives you all these cues. You're lifted up, you're soaring, right? You feel this expansiveness, this lightness. And then all of a sudden the teacher's going on and on and on and on about this, and belly to spine and feet together and arms up and eyes up and chin up and this and relax. And then takes you out of the pose, and you actually never experienced it. You just listened to the teacher. So if you can be that teacher that gets them in poses and then crosses your fingers to stop talking, the student can kind of shimmy themselves into that full locus and have that moment of like, whoa, this feels awesome. And then maybe hear another cue or two from you in the pose, maybe. And we'll talk about that in session 2. And then out. So why am I talking? Amazing strategy for cueing. All right, so now we're going to identify some of our weak cues. I want to talk about what is this passive cueing thing I was talking about earlier on. Identifying your weak cueing. Just be open and available to identifying what you're doing that can be easily changed, that can easily shift your classes, make them much more powerful and invigorating. And you could do that in a gentle class. I'm not talking about power yoga. I'm talking about any kind of movement. Passive cues are just cues that don't directly move body parts. Passive cues, and I have a hard time coming up with them after all these years of teaching, but oftentimes I'll hear lift your, so let's say we're taking dancer's pose. Right arm back, left foot up, grab, right arm back, right foot up, grab right foot with right hand, right foot back. Chin up, eyes up, heart up. So do you hear it? There's no verbs in there. Say that one more time. I'll do it on the left side. Dancer's pose. Left arm back, left foot up, grab left foot with your left hand, left foot back, lift your chest. A couple of verbs. I'm sorry. It's just rote. Chest up, chin up, eyes up, right? So I'm not actively telling them. Reach your left arm back, grab your left foot with your left hand, press your left foot into your left hand, lift your left foot up, lift your heart up, lift your chin up, take one more breath, lift up, and release. Okay, so passive cues could also be when you're adding ings to your verbs. This happens a lot. Bending your left knee, bringing your right arm to your right knee, lifting your chin, looking up, lunging back, reaching your arms back. So not active, passive. It's not a direct cue to the body. And so it's not as immediate a response from your student. And what that means is that they're probably somehow thinking about what you're saying. We often say in our YTT, you want to speak to your students like you're talking to a 4-year-old after a play date. Right? Not in the derogatory sense, but in the very simple, loving commands. Pick up your toys, put them in the corner. Let's sweep up the floor over here and get your shoes on because we need to leave. Right? Very simple, direct, loving, compassionate, but it gets things moving pretty quickly, and it allows the student space. I often, I'm on my mat. I'm like, just tell me what to do. Just tell me directly what to do and leave my mind alone, because my mind needs to just chill right now. So enough on passive cues. We can talk about it more in the future sessions. Repeat words. Oh, I love repeat words. I love when somebody catches me. Even 20 years in, I have my own repeat words. So when you record your class, you can start to learn your repeat words and just lose them. Repeat words are like ums, right? I mean, that's just how those repeat words, that they're fillers that we use in conversation. We do that when we're teaching as well. So here's some common ones. See if you can. Now we're going to. Let's. So, try to. Right. I used to say that. Isn't that a weird one? Right? Yes. Let's now. Gently. A lot of times yoga teachers, every cue, it's like, okay, now slowly bring your right knee up. Okay, now gently release your arm. You don't really need that all the time. So it's really good to learn your repeat words. Identify weak cueing. Another one, too much metaphor. When a teacher brings in too much metaphor, it takes me out of my practice. It takes me out of my mindfulness practice. So oftentimes yoga teachers will bring in metaphors like, flower, open your heart, or lift your arms like a butterfly, or, oh gosh, there's so many. Just take note. There's nothing wrong with metaphor, but a couple, and not too much, because I definitely know I've had not so great experiences in classes when there's just too much imagining. I just want to be in my body, in my breath, in this moment, experiencing my aliveness right now. So can be helpful, but as always, too much is too much. All right. Let's see. We got one more. Indirect breathing. So this is a biggie, and there's nothing right or wrong about this. So please understand. And there's nothing right or wrong about any of this. I'm just giving you my observation and my experience. That's all. Take it or leave it. So indirect breathing. There are many ways that we can breathe a class. And I find that there are some that are more direct and more helpful than others. I use all of them, by the way. I just try to use the more helpful ones more often. The most helpful way to cue the breath is inhale, take a breath, exhale, take a breath. So make sure you're breathing. Inhale, exhale. Why is that the most effective? It's the active cue. It's the direct active cue. And so when a teacher says inhale, I inhale. Big. Especially when I feel he or she take the breath in. Inhale. Exhale. Right? Never fails. But when you're teaching a lot and you're saying it a lot, you like to kind of throw in some other words here and there. But just know, number one is the most effective. Another way to say cueing the breath is breathe in, breathe out. Nothing wrong with that. Breathe in, breathe out. Full breath in, full breath out. So again, I use that, but there's no active verb in there. So it's okay. It's not bad, but you don't want to always just be saying that. And the last one is take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Nothing wrong with that. There's a little verb in there, but it's a lot of words. And when I've been in classes when a teacher only says that, and you could feel it. It gets like heavy. It's a lot. It's a lot to work with. So note, record your class, have an idea of what you're saying most. All right. All right, so here we are. We are at the end of session 1, but don't leave me just yet, because I have a couple of assignments for you. First assignment, and I'll never know if you do this or not. Well, I might if you'd like to work with me. But your first assignment is to record your class, maybe 15 minutes. Use your phone, just stick it in your yoga pants, nobody will know, and then turn it off. Use the voice memo. Record your class, and the first time you go through the class, notice your common mistakes. Notice if you're over talking. Notice where there's weak cueing. Notice repeat words or complicated instruction. Again, you want to put your mat down and do it, folks. I know it's not easy. I do it all the time in my own classes. This is the way you're going to grow. It's the best way you're going to grow, because other people aren't going to tell you the truth. Most people, anyway. They just won't come back to your class. That's just the bottom line. The other assignment, still assignment 1, is record your class. And now, when you're recording your class, practice using these effective strategies. And then when you're listening, notice if you used any of them. Announce the pose. Use active verbs. Speak to the body. Remember, directly to body parts. Lead with the breath. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, lunge your right foot back. And then wait, the all-important wait. Why am I talking? Cross your fingers. Wait a breath or two. Once you get the students in the pose, cross your fingers, let them be. We'll talk more about the cueing template next week. And the cueing template is phase 3, which is to really start to break down the components of moving bodies in and out of poses. I love talking about that as well. All right, so let's finish this up. If you would like additional cueing support with me, I am coaching several teachers right now. I do it one-on-one, and this is the way we work. It's real simple. You're going to record 30 minutes. You're going to record a portion of your class. Maybe 15 minutes of a class is really enough. That's all I need. And you'll send it to me, and then we'll schedule a 30-minute phone call, a Zoom call, whatever, Skype call. And we will unpack those strategies and common mistakes. So I can pinpoint pretty quickly what you're doing, and you can make immediate changes to the way you're teaching. Immediate, by just cleaning up a couple of things. So that is really only $75, super bargain in my opinion. You can enroll at the link in the YouTube description. Just click on the link and you can pay with PayPal. And then I'll send you an email. We'll set up our call. So again, one-on-one cueing with me. If you're interested, love to work with you. I can only take a couple at a time. So please let me know as soon as you're interested. Don't wait. Let's do this together. So once again, my book, On the Verge, Wake Up, Show Up, and Shine. It is a book about waking up out of your busy mind, showing up in the present moment, and shining by accessing your limitless potential. I speak very clearly with simple practices and strategies. Accompanying the book is a free app that is on the Google Play and iTunes. So download that today. I actually have 3 movement practices on there, videos. So you can take apart my cueing. I'm sure I make some mistakes and have some repeat words, but in any event, there's 2 yoga practices and a mindful movement practice on the Verge free mobile app. Lastly, I have a podcast that's also free, and that is on iTunes and Google Play. Weekly podcast, no hype advice, effective practices to live in high definition. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you listening all the way through. Kudos to you. Connect with me on my website, carabradley.net. Find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. I'm on just about everything. Or email me, cara@carabradley.net. Have an awesome day, everybody. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you, hearing from you, and communicating with you in session 2.